Hotep. What's up? What's up, people? Today marks the 51st year of Martin Luther King's assassination. April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was taken out. By snipers. Snipers that had government connection and affiliations with known associates of his. What do we think about that? Dr. Martin Luther King had transformed himself 3 years before he passed away. After Malcolm X was assassinated on the 21st of February of 1965 at the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem, New York, King saw the light. He saw the error of his ways. He saw how things was transpiring. He saw how the dream had turned into a nightmare. King knew that he had nowhere else to go but up. He knew he could not continue to act as if everything was okay and that integration was the be-all, the end-all of America. He knew these things. He knew that the United States had a ways to go before equality for all was ever implemented, let alone practiced. But a lot of King's supporters defected from him before he passed away. Well, I should say, taken away. Him and Jesse Jackson really never got along. Matter of fact, he detested Jesse. He didn't trust him. Jesse has been working with the FBI ever since he was 15 years old. And King knew this. King also knew that Jesse was being groomed to be the next leader, which subsequently happened anyway. It happened because after King's assassination, Jesse Jackson was going all over the networks. Every TV station he could get his behind on, donning a shirt covered in blood, that he dipped down on the concrete, put his hands in it, and rubbed it on his shirt. Dr. King was not a dummy. Dr. King was not a perfect individual either. Dr. King was a man just like everybody else that had his good points and his bad points. He had a lot of skeletons in his closet. Okay? So, we're not here to try to make him out to be a martyr. He ended up being a martyr anyway, based off his works. But what I want to get across to people is this. Martin Luther King Jr. knew that America was not ready for integration. Matter of fact, he never really preached integration. He preached human rights. The rights to vote, the rights to be protected under law, the rights to be respected as a human being. He was for the very things that this nation was supposed to be founded on. He wasn't bringing no new message. He didn't bring a new message at all. His message was loud and clear. Uphold the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. As Americans, we all are to be here to enjoy the fruits of our labors and prosperity and be held in high esteem by the very law that has been implemented by the Congress and the Senate in the United States government. But unfortunately, that has not happened. Why hasn't it happened? because integration was done for all the wrong reasons. You cannot have any integration until you got some sort of understanding of what your nationality is. Your nationality and your province of character, which means, are you a decent human being or not? And I would say that the majority of people this day and time are not decent human beings. We don't practice civility. We're all about ourselves, and erroneously speaking, we don't give a fuck about the next man. No more than what it can do for us. And that's sad, but that's the reality that we face. So what are we going to do? Hell, I got banned off of Facebook. All I was doing was trying to help people. All I was doing was trying to help people to see the light of day. I wasn't using profanity. I wasn't going after anybody's wife. I wasn't trying to bogart anybody and try to make them out to be something that they're not. I was just up there trying to inform people and guide them as much as possible. But I found out something about Facebook that I knew all the while about our society at large. And that is the fact that a so-called black man or a mixed man is not allowed to teach white people. Not allowed to teach them and be successful. You run into trouble. And understand this, that the two most imprisoned and enslaved people in America still to this day is the black male and the white female. A white man got his foot on his woman's neck and won't let it up. He won't let it off of it. He's gonna keep it on that neck as long as he can. She's not free. And black man definitely not free. You are not supposed to intermingle with a married white woman, even if you're trying to be friendly. Even if you're trying to therefore teach them something, it's just not going to work. I wrote a piece on Facebook some time ago, and I said that racism, that some people are unconsciously racist, meaning they're so racist until they act upon it just like they breathe. They're not aware of why they're racist, but they're just racist. That's the worst racist. I mean, they're conscious racist, they're subconscious racist, but the unconscious racist is the worst of all. Because that's the one that portrays himself as being a liberal and somebody that would help you out. Now, I'm tying all this into Dr. King's message. Because Dr. King, a couple of weeks before he was assassinated, said he had feared that he had integrated into a burning house. And a lot of people don't understand what he meant by that. What he meant is that he didn't know at the time when he started the movement, or when the movement was started, that the repercussions for integration were going to be so audacious and horrendous. Because what you had to face was a climate of hate that escalated itself to the point it didn't even care about the laws of the land. And it would violate anyone and anything, regardless of color and creed and gender. Dr. King understood that later on in his life, when it was almost too late, that what was really needed was solidarity amongst each man in himself before he could do it with others. We have to be in collusion with our own people. Just like the Japanese and the Chinese, the Koreans, the Arabs, the Jews, the Europeans. At large, all these nationalities come together with themselves first. The American black man, unfortunately, never did that. They practiced integration, but was segregated against themselves. In 2019, African American people on the continent of North America are more segregated against themselves than ever before. I will say that again. In the continent of North America, in 2019, African American people are more segregated than they were before. And they're more segregated against themselves. Not the American public, not the American laws, not the American jurisdiction, they're segregated against themselves. Spiritually, physically, mentally, on all levels. Socially as well, economically. They're not together, they're not one, they're three or four. Everybody has their own agenda. It's like going to the brown church, the black church, the yellow church, and the red church. Then you had the white church. Basically, a people without a foundation. And a people that still call themselves a minority, and by definition, a minority means someone less than you. So when a black person calls themselves a minority, they're basically saying, I'm less than everybody else. It's a bad term to use. You have to be very careful about the terms you use to depict who you are, because it could come back to haunt you. It could come back to bite you in your ass in many, many ways. I am not a minority in any shape or form. I'm just as good as the next man. Skin color? Irrelevant. The racialist has tried to make skin color out to be some kind of cliche that's connected to intelligence. You know how they have validated that? They're the one that writes the test. They're the ones that therefore take the surveys. How can you take your enemy's word for who you are? When your enemy determines who you are, and you accept that, you messed up. You cannot take the enemy's definement of who you are intellectually, spiritually, physically, culturally, and speak on it as it's true. But many of people have done this and have done it very well. They have bought into the lie. They have accepted it and regurgitated it and will defend it if you come with something different. Some people just love the Stockholm Syndrome. They like being privy to being a slave, or I should say indoctrinated and inoculated to the point that you are not you. You are someone else that basically hates who you are. We are trying to become people who hate us. And we are believing them. And we are accepting their way. Common sense. Why would a person that hates you tell you something for your own good? How do you expect to get the truth out of a liar? If a man is a supremacist and he preaches white power and white nationalism, how can you take his definement of who you are? He's going to give you his definement. He's going to give you his perception, not yours, because he doesn't care about you. That's what I'm saying. People need to wake up and smell the coffee. Facebook has done me a great service. Not a disservice, a great service. I'm no longer up there on that social media that's run by the CIA. I don't have to put up with their harassment they would do it with their trolls. Whereas I had no freedom of speech out there whatsoever. Whatsoever. It is a mirage that is saturated with all kind of bedlam deliberately. And it's sad to say this, it's getting worse. But I wanted to drop these things on you today on April the 4th, 2019, 51 years since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. By the way, his name was Michael King before 1950. To let you know that we have not gone anywhere. We have not transformed society or ourselves. We haven't transcended racism, discrimination, homophobia. We haven't. And it's doubtful we ever will, unless there is a revolution in this country that's going to get rid of all of the debris that needs to be put in the trash can, that's still hanging around. We got debris still hanging around on the trees, on the roofs of houses, on cars, and even on our minds. And it's got to go. We cannot maintain any semblance if we're going to keep the same program in effect. It won't work. It will not work. But like Albert Einstein once said, insanity is doing the same thing to get different results. And to be honest with you, we are an insane society full of nuts and bolts. Peace out.